Hi Capricorn, here's a general look at your solar chart for November 2011. Now this looks like a very progressive phase for you, but also a lot going on behind the scenes or inside of you. You know, you could be preoccupied and a bit introspective, but it doesn't look heavy at all. It's just reflective really. So group efforts are highlighted, and you might be giving more thought to goals that you've wished to achieve for quite a while, or in fact getting on with doing them. So that's good news. And it's about how well you and a small group or a large group can sort of click together and do business together, and everybody, you know, doing their little thing in their place, and kind of how you can mix and mingle and get along. This is a sociable vibration, generally friendly vibration, where business collaborations, get-togethers, whether that's for personal reasons, professional reasons, teamwork is emphasized, and it's also very good for doing this kind of work over the net, and networking, and furthering maybe an ideal or an aim, or something that is maybe a little bit unconventional, going into an area which is, you know, not mainstream. This could also be, but as I say, lots going on behind the scenes and inside of you as well, because you're in closer touch with your inner self at the moment. Maybe, you know, asking some of the bigger questions, but also this is a very good moment to be dialoguing with your wiser, deeper self, or your higher self, or your angels or guides, or however you want to see it. And it can be very fruitful, as a matter of fact, and you could feel that support coming from unseen realms. Now, on a more physical level, you know, this is a time for looking after yourself, and just making sure that you do the sorts of things that you enjoy, or maybe go in for a little bit of, you know, TLC therapy, that sort of thing. But also you want to do your best for others, because actually where the sun is up until the 23rd is in the house of higher service. So there's something about this month which has you putting your own desires on one side, even when maybe you're not quite in the mood, and just in order to be there or to do something which is going to be worthwhile in some way, and maybe in the bigger scheme of things. And also possibly you're going to feel like you really want to do this. It's not going to be a terrible chore, you know. And speaking of chores and work, some of you could be beavering away at certain things behind the scenes which you're not ready to come out with and show fully yet. Getting on with something that you are perfecting, or that's growing, or that you're developing behind the scenes. It could be one of a number of things. So your mind's going to be more introspective, your intuition is going to be increasing, you're going to be wanting to get on with things, you know, left to yourself, to get on with certain things behind the scenes. From the 11th onwards, you're probably not going to be feeling such emotional turmoil, because some of you might be feeling some of this actually since September, at moments, you know, with this introspective sort of phase that you've been in. But Mars moves on the 11th of November, and that takes you into a more outgoing, more upbeat kind of a mood, really, where you can not so preoccupied by inner stresses and worries, but you can actually get on with putting physical energy into whatever. Possibly it'll be this urge to get out of ordinary routines, maybe outworn scenarios, the old frame. You want to get out of the old frame, and you want to explore, you want to adventure, whether that's in a low-key, quiet way, or whether it's in a bigger sort of a way. In fact, this transit is going to be such a long transit that over the many months that Mars is going to be here, you could go through just about the full range of the way it could manifest. So in November, definitely you get this sort of spurt of outward energy from the 11th onwards, where you're just going to be inquisitive, you're going to be perhaps thirsting after knowledge, whether it's in an academic sense or whether it's just in, wanting to get your head around how a piece of kit works, and being interested though in new things, perhaps some of you connecting more with a foreign culture or travel, or just those at a distance, that could be part of this. But the general feel is simply getting outside of the box that you're usually in, and it's very refreshing. It can really refresh your spirit. And other things that can come in here are higher education, the legal profession, or just having to sign forms and stuff, or that sort of thing. Although it could be something a little bit bigger. Whatever, it's in this very expansive area where your eyes can be open to bigger things, and as I say, you're not so inward looking or kind of maybe a little bit preoccupied and turbulent inside. But until the 23rd, the Sun is going to be in a background area. But as I say, the Mercury and Venus are going to be in a background area. The Sun is going to be in a very friendly, sociable sort of an area where you and others, will be doing stuff together. And maybe sometimes you get a bit tired out because you got, what you've taken on to do for others. And that's another thing I want to say to you, is just be careful about your boundaries. There has to be some place that you can go to where you can shut the door and say, okay, this is me time now, this is my space, and woe betide you, if you come and disturb me, or however you want to work it, because that would be very good for you to do, being where Mercury and Venus are, always quite like to please people, really, those two. So they're in an area where your boundaries could get trodden on. So just be aware of that. And Mars going into this more far-reaching area from the 11th, picking up your mood probably, and you're not going to sweat the small stuff so much there, and you're going to have a more philosophical outlook on things. And now Mercury goes retrograde for 3 weeks from the 24th, so that means that certain things might be slightly up in the air, or your thinking can be a little bit muddled or confused, or you're just unclear about something, and it might affect you emotionally. In fact, you've got to be careful that you don't come out with an inappropriate knee-jerk response that always sends you down the same old hole in the road, or always puts you in the corner. So this is also a good time to be sort of squaring up to those things which creep up on us all, and actually turn around and look at it and say, well, why do I always do this? Because it never, gets me anywhere useful. So when Mercury goes retrograde, that kind of an issue might occur. But however, your intuitions are sharp, your gut knowing is working very well. You have to listen to it, though. You have to still the mind to listen to it, and then you hear it. And from the end of the 3 weeks, then Mercury rolls forwards again, and you start to, really pick up the threads and start getting clarity. There's a new moon and a partial lunar eclipse on November the 25th. That's going to usher in new beginnings for you, related to higher service, regeneration, therapy, nurturing, touching base with yourself. And being of service to somebody, maybe a little bit more. They're leaning on you a little bit more, and that's going to be followed up by the total solar eclipse of the Sun in December the 10th. But more on that later. And from the 23rd, well, you could just be pulling strings from behind the scenes, just keeping an eye on things. Now, every month I talk about the slow-moving outer planets. You can leave this video now, because I'm just going to go over those again. You can leave this video now, actually, and read it on my website. So, but for about 12 months, Jupiter is bringing in a more sociable, playful kind of a mood. There's going to be more occasion in your life to have time with children, to bring out the inner child in you, to be spontaneous, fun-loving, playful. There'll just be more moments. And also encouraging your own spontaneity. Yes, it is in there somewhere, Capricorn. To kind of, shine like a child in a way. To feel empowered in what you're doing and happy and glad and whistling, a happy tune, because you feel your creative core at work. So children around, animals around, this would be a good thing, could give you this kind of feeling, of being in connection with Source. Children and animals are in contact with Source all the time until the children grow up a little bit and they get taught otherwise. But that's why they're nice to be around. Even if you're not particularly a child, a baby or a children person, or a young person, you feel that innocence, and that's because they're in touch with Source. They haven't been that long away from it. So now another way this can work is romance. Somebody could be giving you admiring glances and you feel rather at the center of attention, whether it's, going to be a new love relationship, or whether it's the little baby's eyes staring up into your own, however it is, or the devotion of your dog, So now some of you may or may not know that Saturn and Pluto are hitting your sign pretty hard at the moment, depending on where you are in the sign of Capricorn. Have you, having to dig deep and work under pressure sometimes. Have you wondering about what your long-term prospects are and where you're going. Pluto's in your sign, Saturn is coming at you from your career area, or to do with your general life direction. And this is always, a feature on a daily basis. So really it might for you be working out in various ways, but you will be wanting to rethink and upgrade your role in the world, maybe your status, where you are in the pecking order, what you do for a living, completely changing that. That's another way it can be working. Also the role that others expect of you all the time, and that also might be, changing as well, because you want to change that image. You don't want to be seen that way anymore. So you're working harder on reputation. People are seeing you in a different kind of a way, hopefully, because you're over halfway through this transit now. It'll be finished in autumn 2012. And you Capricorns born January the 12th to the 18th, or with 21 to 26 degrees of Capricorn rising, are likely to feel this influence mostly over this month. Uranus is at the root of your chart, also shaking your world, rocking and rolling it from the very foundations. That's to do with your inner feelings, family connections, your place on the map. That's all changing. The goalpost is changing there, and you probably shift your opinion more than once about where your true roots are and where you're anchored inside over this long transit. And you Capricorns born 22nd to 23rd, or up to the first couple of degrees of Capricorn rising, will feel this vibration mostly this month. Neptune is reversed into Aquarius. This may affect you Capricorns in a minor way at the very ending or the beginning of the sign, and it's just that it just keeps certain things up in the air, regarding property, finance, this lack of clarity, this lack of certainty, you should be. It should be a minor niggle, really, depending on your natal chart, but you should be getting this feeling of confidence and confirmation coming in from February, when this planet leaves that area at last. Mentioned Pluto. This is like an emotional undertow, and sometimes an emotional roller coaster. There's so much going on inside of you. People see you in the street saying, "Hi, how are you doing today? You look well." And they just can't see what's going on inside of you. It's a lot. You know, if you're right on that degree, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you've been there and you come out the other side, you'll be smiling now and saying, well, it was a roller coaster ride, but I'm renewed, I'm reborn. So this is a time for you to begin redesigning, you know, yourself from the ground up, from the inside out, reaching deeper. You know, you didn't know all that stuff was down there, you know, into your past, into your psychology, into your long-standing arrangements of various kinds, you know, that you thought would never go out of your life, and they just do. So you need to follow your deepest instincts now, because this is about your personal evolution, and not everything will go. You know, what is meant to stay will stay. You Capricorns, well, this transit is just in the early stages. So actually, you Capricorns, 25th, 29th of December, or around about 3 to 8 degrees of Capricorn rising, will feel this vibration mostly this month. Very early Capricorn, like just on the very first day or two of the sign, will you know, be on the other side of this now. But as a matter of fact, it takes about a year to reorientate after the Pluto transit. It is so radical, fundamental and powerful. Right, well, that's it for November. If you know your rising sign and your moon sign, you might like to try listen to that too, see if it fits or if it doesn't or whatever. And I will see you the next time.